Hello Bookish friends, welcome to my February wrap-up part 2. In this video, I will talk about the 6 works that I finished in the second half of February. And like I did in my previous wrap-ups, I will insert the clips that I recorded right after I finished those works. Today is the 19th of February. And I finished 2 books back to back. The first book that I finished was a book that I read because of fulfilling the Golden Girls Reading Challenge. But aside from the challenge, more importantly, I wanted to listen to something fun and quick. I listened to a short romance book belonging to Echo Ridge Romance book series. Which was Her Guy Next Door Fake Fiance. As the title suggests, this romance book has many tropes which I quite like. One day Lisa rushes from her home to work because she's late for a meeting. Her next door neighbor, Jaime, crashes into her car, but of course nothing serious happens. Jaime suggests that Lisa takes his car in order to catch the business meeting. After a very successful business meeting, Lisa is appointed to go to a seminar in which she has to make contact with her ex-fiance. And she makes a sort of crazy plan to ask Jaime to act as her fake fiance during this seminar, which would also help Jaime's business ventures. Jaime tries to get the full custody of his son because his ex-wife is addicted to medical drugs that his son needs for his treatment. Jaime, in order to have a better standing, to gain his son's custody, decides to go along this fake engagement plot. But unlike Lisa, he hides his real motive from her. Though I gave this book only 3 stars, I had a good time listening to this book. He did something light while dealing with the disaster management activities after the earthquake. I have to be honest, I was a bit disappointed in some of the dialogues, especially Jaime's dialogues were so cliche. I even rolled my eyes at some of the things he said while I was listening to the book. That's why I gave Her Guy Next Door Fake Fiance a 6 out of 10. The book that I finished today was a buddy read that I did with Kristen at Enter the Book. We decided to buddy read The Princess Bride many months ago. And unfortunately, in the first day of the buddy read, the devastating earthquake happened. And we postponed it for a few days. We had both previously seen the adaptation of this book, and Kristen was such a huge fan of the adaptation, while I barely remembered it. This fantasy classic, written in 1973, we have the perspective of the author William Goldman, and he describes editing the good parts version of fictional author S. Morgenstern's classic tale of true love and high adventure, which is titled Princess Bride. Since the original text was filled with Laroni's history, court etiquette, and Mrs. Morgenstern's mostly complimentary views of the text. And in the book Princess Bride, read the epic love story between Buttercup and Wesley, as well as the inclusion of everything action-packed, such as fencing, fighting, torture, poison, hate, revenge, giants, hunters, swordsmen, badmen, goodmen, beautiful ladies, snakes, spiders, and bits of all natures and descriptions. I really did like the description of the book. I really wanted to read this seemingly funny but actually very accurate description of the book. This book was very humorous, and it is the type of humor that I like. And I really smiled when the author was editing the boring parts. I have to admit, I sometimes feel the same when I'm reading some of the classics with excessive details. I really want to edit those details so that a condensed version of the book would be much better, in my opinion, of course. Those parts were really fun to read. Aside from the author's point of view, I really did like the complexity of all of the characters. Even the most evil characters had some kind of complex dualities within them. And in this seemingly cliche, action-packed plot, the complex characters made the reading experience much enjoyable for me. Last but of course not least, the bud reading experience with Kristen was fantastic. Her being such a fan of the adaptation has really helped me to understand some of the points that I might have missed. Also, her support in accepting to go in a pace that would fit my busy life made this bud reading experience much easier for me too. Thank you, Kristen. Overall, I gave The Princess Bride by William Goldman a 9 out of 10. Today is the 21st of February, and yesterday I finished two very short works. The first one was the middle grade nonfiction book that I chose from my series cup, which was Amelia Earhart Was on the Moon by Gutman. This book was the third and the most current book on Wait What series by Gutman. In this series, Gutman talks about the life of famous people and the facts about them in a quite humorous way. The humor is suited for middle grade children, but I also find the humor sort of cute. And in this book, I learned many things about Amelia Earhart that I did not know. I only knew about the disappearance, but I did not know that she was such a successful pilot. Overall, because I quite enjoyed the nonfiction work and learned many things, I gave Amelia Earhart Was on the Moon by Gutman a 7 out of 10. And the second work that I finished was the prequel short story in the Winners trilogy, which is The Bridge of Snow. In this short story, the mother of Aaron has a story about impossible love to his son, and this short story, of course, takes place about 15 years before the first book. It was interesting to learn about the family dynamic of Aaron, who was my favorite character in the book. It also helped me to get into the world of the trilogy because I will start bud reading the next book, The Winner's Crime, with Carolyn, starting from this evening. Moreover, I was pleasantly surprised by the really good structure of the very short story, how it correlates with the series in general. So overall, I also gave The Bridge of Snow by Mary Rutroski a 7 out of 10. Today is the 27th of February, and I finished one work yesterday and another today. The first work that I finished was a novella by Stefan Zweig, Bir Kadının 24 Saati. The English title of this novella is 24 Hours in the Life of a Woman. In this novella, a noblewoman disappears with a woman whom she met very recently, up until 2 days ago. The nameless narrator discusses the possible reasons why she might be affected by a person that she met so recently with the other guests in the manor house. And an English woman, Mrs. C, approaches him and decides to tell a story that took place when she was young and how her life has changed drastically in a very small period of only 24 hours. I had previously read Amok by Stefan Zweig, and I have to admit I did not know why he was so highly praised in my country. When I read this novella, I think I understood the reason. Although nothing very concrete happens, the emotions of the characters and also the complexity and the duality of human ethics and human nature was described excellently. And I was especially impressed by the raw honesty of the author about the humankind. And the translation was also very decent, which was not the case in the other book. So I gave Bir Kadının 24 Saati by Stefan Zweig an 8 out of 10. And the book that I finished today was the book that I was listening to for Krista's Patreon book club, which was Murder at the Mallowan Hall, the first book in Fleda Bright's mystery series. In this book, Fleda is the housemaid of Agatha Christie and his husband, Mr. Mallowan. Also quite good friends with the author herself. When an overnight guest, whom actually nobody knows, is found murdered in the library of the Mallowan Hall, Fleda Bright decides to solve the murder herself because of 3 reasons. The first one is that she really does not trust the detectives who are investigating the crime. The second reason is that she is a big fan of Agatha Christie mysteries and also sort of half in love with Hercule Poirot character. And lastly, she wants her household to return to normal as soon as possible so that she could carry on her spotless job and her spotless house. And as she investigates the murder, she finds out more and more about the identity of the victim, why he might have come to the Mallowan Hall. And like a detective in an Agatha Christie novel, she gets into the action herself in some of the scenes. This was a great end to a very sad month for me. I really enjoyed everything about this book. If I had based my ratings purely on my enjoyment level, I would have given this book a 10 out of 10. But of course, there are other factors to decide on my rating. First of all, I loved the inclusion of Agatha Christie in every scene of the book, especially the scenes in which she was actively involved in the case. She was like a mentor to Fleda. I loved the suggestion that she wrote the body in the library after this murder happened. Aside from the scenes that she was actively involved in, the touch of Agatha Christie and her way of writing was felt in every scene of the book. The way it was structured, the way it unfolded, and the very lengthy scene in which Fleda talked about who the murderer was to all of the suspects. I loved that the author never tried to hide the fact that she was heavily influenced by Dame Agatha Christie. And additionally, I found the character of Fleda to be quite funny, especially her interactions with the ruggedly handsome chauffeur was among my favorite scenes of the book. So overall, I can say that if you like Agatha Christie, if you like Downton Abbey, if you like small town mysteries, if you like half cozy mysteries, you will certainly like this book. So I gave Murder at Mallowan Hall by Colleen Cambridge an 8 out of 10. So those were the 6 works that I finished in the second half of February. Please comment down below what was your favorite book that you read in February. Mine was The Princess Bride by William Goldman. And if you're a new viewer, first of all, welcome. Please like and subscribe. Hope to see you very soon. Bye. As for Turkish word of the day, I'm going to choose bride. Bride means gelin in Turkish, and gelin is our Turkish word of the day. Have a good day.